And welcome everybody. We are back with yet another masterclass and a workshop with Russell Coates. Russell is going to talk with us today about double defending. And just before we went live, he was confiding in me that he's got lots of examples from his own team from this because they needed some work on this part. So looking forward to some real life examples of this topic here. But before we dive in, let me remind all of you, as usual, let's make this interactive. So bring your questions, bring your remarks. Let us know if you agree or disagree with something that Russell or I am saying here. It's asking questions that is the best way to learn. Is our quote here. So bring those on, not just during the Q&A at the end, but do not hesitate to bring them on the moment you think of them. Russell, let's talk about how we are going to train double defending.
Yep, thanks for the introduction, Ernst. So today we're going to have a look at a training session where we're going to practice with double defending. Most commonly, I think the perception of a double is always with a free man, but I am also going to show a few video clips of also other possibilities of creating a double, especially also because there's quite a few teams that play zonal defense now as well, and they don't always have a free man. But I feel like most defensive systems are orientated around trying to create a numerical superiority around the ball, sometimes through pressing traps, sometimes through a traditional -1 press with a free man. And today I'm going to share a few exercises on how you can train doubling in defense. And I'm also going to show a few video clips of my team doing it very poorly, and that being one of the reasons why I dived into this topic in recent weeks. One of the main things I think which is important when it comes to training doubles is the concept of training under loads from an attacking standpoint. I feel like, especially in Holland, being an attacking orientated hockey country, there's lots of emphasis on overloads and sometimes on even loads. Also helps incorporating the goalkeeper in the training session. But in most matches, I'd say on average, you've probably only got the ball for 50% of the time. And when you're defending, you're trying to create an overload situation from a defensive standpoint. And I feel like say if you've got 2 or 3 hours of training sessions a week, I think probably half of it should be spent on the ball skills and half of it should be spent on off the ball skills. So as being a defender myself, I'm going to try and inspire you guys to incorporate a lot more of off-ball training sessions, and we're going to start with doubling in defense. I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. Now you can tell me if this has all gone correctly. Can you also see my XPS screen now, Ernst?
I am seeing it. Let me put it on the screen here.
Okay, great. So the first exercise, which is actually a two-part exercise, is going to be a 1 versus 2. And it's just going to be a really simple drill in which we're going to introduce the basics of training doubles. I'll show the drill first, and then we can maybe move on to some of the coaching points. Now, the reason I like to start off in this area of the pitch, because especially when training doubles or underloads from an attacking standpoint, it can be quite hard to incorporate the goalkeeper. And one of the things that you can do is warm the goalkeeper up properly and do a sort of really high intense goalkeeper finishing drill with some of the attackers, as they're not going to be that involved in the defending aspect. And then here you can set up a small tackling box. If you've got lots of players, you can duplicate this exercise. But I like to try and train the technical and tactical aspects of the drill isolated before we go on to a sort of small unit play or small-sided game, because it's quite hard to train those components when there's a goalkeeper involved and there's points involved. So I always like to start off with a sort of technical component so that you can really delve into the details necessary to play a double. It's a very simple exercise with a mini goal on either sides and just one attacker playing a 1 versus 2. And the defenders, they're trying to win the ball back and see if they can win the ball back and then transition. Now you've got numerous options here. You can put a goal here for the defender so they can score, but another thing you can do, which makes the exercise nice and dynamic, is that you have the defenders pass the ball to an attacker here, and as soon as the attacker gets the ball, a new 1 versus 2 starts, and this attacker leaves the area. So just depending on how intense you want to make it, but that's a nice variation I want to use. And what we're looking at here is basically the basics of doubling up in defense. So one of the things we want to do is which I find very important, is to create a V shape. You've got one defender whose main task is to press the attacker and make sure his head goes is looking down at the pitch, and then you've got one defender who's actually going to make the tackle, who has to focus on timing as well. And I feel like these are the main aspects you want to be starting to work with. So the purpose of this exercise, and actually all of the exercises in this drill, is to teach players how to recognize the double team and develop coordinated defending and also timing and defensive positioning. So looking at some coaching topics, you want to try and recognize when the attacker is isolated. Now in this exercise, that's quite simple, but you want clear communication between the defenders and real clarity on who is the first defender, who doesn't actually try to win the ball, and who is the second defender. And we're trying to form a V shape. Now, and where you can expand this exercise quite nicely, which also makes it a bit more fun, is to just add in an extra defender and an extra attacker so that you have a 2 versus 3. That gives the attackers the possibility to pass, and that makes sure the defenders have to do a lot more on communication. There is a way of, I've made a mistake here. There is a way of also including the goalkeeper in this exercise. So I've made a variation on how you can sort of expand this exercise towards goal. And also included a way that I use often in training to make sure the goalkeeper is incorporated. So if we were to do a basic 1 versus 2 with 2 defenders, the chances are the goalkeeper would not have a lot to do. So what I like to do is just incorporate ways of including the goalkeeper, and a way of doing that is letting both defenders run up and shoot, or you can do a shootout, and then afterwards you have a 1 versus 2, and then the defenders can score in the mini goal. Now, one thing you can do, which isn't very game-like but does make the exercise also fun, is that if the defenders score, they can then play a 2 versus 1 and score a goal. But if you really want to put a lot of emphasis on the double teaming, then that's not something I would include. And this is also an exercise you can easily expand into a 2 versus 3 or even a 3 versus 4. So that's something you need to consider if you're doing this exercise with the whole team. Then I would definitely expand into a 2 versus 3 or a 3 versus 4, so that not a lot of players are standing still. And actually, it can also be very interesting from an attacking standpoint as well to train under loads, because quite often you've got a +1 in build-up, but you've actually got a -1 in attack, as other teams also play free man. So it can also be very useful as well to include in some attacking coaching points for attacking in under loads. Okay, so this is just a basic, simple technical drill that you can either do towards goal or in a sort of smaller tackling box. And I'm going to show you 2 video clips from my team doing a very poor job at doubling up in defense. Let me have a look. So as we see here, I'll just quickly show the clip. This is our free man, so they've had a sort of attack on the left, and this is one of my players tracking back. So we're trying to create a double here, because this is